More power isn't always a good thing. So yeah, we know that Lucio is going to be running a little bit behind. Does anyone have any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, corners we may need to round on?
Where do we leave off? I'm foggy. You'll probably say 3 words and I'll go, oh yeah.
You guys were driving away. Oh, Hasha, fire away.
We had just gone back to Vu and Felix, but instead of going inside, we realized there was something wrong, and there was a big-ass tear in the void, and then Lucio started having attack, and then we're like, it's probably not the best time to go play hero. We should leave. So that leads me to my question.
It all came back.
I remember having pushed the demons out of the people at Lucio's sister's apartment that time. Am I assuming, as Hestia, that this is the same sort of process, or is it going to be harder because it's been in there longer?
It would be fair to assume that the same process should be able to at least cause movement. But because it has been there for so long, the after effects of getting movement, you're not sure how that may fall due. Considering and what is Hestia's occult?
I'm pretty sure I'm maxed. Let me look. Occult near maxed. I'm at 4.
Okay, so with just the generalized knowledge that Hestia has, knowing that Lucio is a nuclear reactor of the very stuff of everything on the opposite side of the veil, everything across the shroud, everything across the hedge, everything from that absence of life that is that space, the very dark soul of oblivion itself. That energy has always been going somewhere. And while kindred exist as vacuums in the world, there are never-ending voids that need constant filling. That energy, that other stuff, that oblivion grants things from that side far more strength. And we've seen how much of it that Lucio can bring to bear.
Okay, so that's a thing. But then I'm trying to remember how she got... Okay, remember the time we were looking for the girl's grandmother at the shelter?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember how she went to the other side. Temporarily. So I'm thinking maybe I could...
It was the minor convergence that happened afterwards. Remember, you all kept the shelter safe during the major convergence. The only thing that slipped out permanently during that event was for Sepulus. The next time that you dealt with that mage Southpaw, she's used various other names, but that literally is who she is. You were at the next minor convergence, and you used that energy to find her grandmother and all of those sorts of things. And you were able to slip through the very thin membrane of the veil and the shroud. And checking our handy dandy trusty dusty celestial calendar, our next convergence is that's too far away for the next conjunction, so let's look at it. Because that's 2040. Yeah, that's... Fortunately, too far away for that. Let's go with...
It'll be an inside joke at this point, but I just want to point out that I'm still rolling at the guy who photo claimed us him.
Yeah, he's being defended by Tyler at this point.
What?
He made it personal.
I missed this somehow. A sim, what?
Yeah. So the next major is not until 2040. There's a minor one in 2024. So technically that would be the next sprouting of all of this energy being released with no cap on it for that option. But finding someone who is skilled in Oblivion and understands rituals of how to perhaps not only ward but exorcise spirits and their malfeasance from the living or almost living should work perfectly fine.
If only we knew anybody like that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I already knew Hestia was gonna have to be like, Sophia, we gotta fix.
But nothing is broken. All is as it should be.
Well, you know what they say, if it's not broken, then it clearly isn't part of our household. I mean, no, that's just here. Lucio, how was your day?
Apart from the one thing that I posted in there, I got stuck on the phone for 20 minutes from one patient. 20 minutes of my life for an issue that only took 5 seconds to solve. The rest of the time was just them
Repeating the same thing over and over and over.
Yes.
How could I
Over.
guess?
And over. It never ended.
You should have told him you were going into a tunnel and hung up.
Sorry, our pharmacy is now gone mobile.
Well, yeah. Didn't you see the big truck, the big CVS truck passing by your house, right? No, we're just passing. I'm sorry. Well, we'll catch you the next time around.
I found out that one of my pharmacists, not the ones that I regularly work with, but because Target, where it's usually just the pharmacists by themselves for like basically the entire freaking week, got a headset, so he's up there like ringing out patients and on the phone with another patient. I'm like, dude, just don't. That's too much.
No, it's not a major violation of HIPAA. No, you're perfectly fine. They won't remember a thing you just said.
You'd be surprised. Half the time, even the patients I speak to directly don't remember what I say.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Exactly. I've literally had people who tell me, like, stop automatically refilling everything because you guys just keep filling things that I don't need. All right, sir, I'll take you off of automatic refill. A month later,
Why didn't you fill it?
Prescription was supposed to be on autofill. Why is it not on autofill? Well, you asked me to take everything off of autofill, but then I forget that I need it. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's why we had autofill, but
I note everything.
I mean, come on, who complains about more drugs showing up at their house? That's silly.
Lots of people. Swear to God, lots of people.
Those people are dumb. More drugs is always better.
More cost-effective drugs. All the other ones you can keep.
Drugs aren't free?
Depends on your social group, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're free.
It depends on where you go,
I
who
heard
you're
a story.
talking to.
That reminds me, I heard a great story the other day from one of the other pharmacists where they had a patient take aside their PIC because they were from a different store. Patient took them to the side, spoke with them apparently for 20 minutes. Patient leaves in a huff. They ask, what the heck was that about? That patient just tried to ask me to give them a year's supply of medication for free just because we're both Indian.
I see. You didn't have, a bucket full of placebos back there?
No.
Sadly not. Otherwise, I'd be just chucking them at people. Especially at the rude customers. Like, here, you want your pill so bad? Here. Toss it in their face.
Aw. I wish I could do that.
No, but then we'd be fired.
Well, you can only be fired for something that you know is that you've been counseled on and trained on that is against the policy. Have you ever had it expressly told to you in writing or verbally that you cannot toss the patient their medication?
I have not been told that explicitly, no.
And better yet, have you been expressly told verbally or in writing that you can't toss the patient something that is not medicine?
I have not.
Would tossing candy to a child or another individual violate any HIPAA policies that you've been trained on?
As long as it's not doesn't have any writing on it.
Which means, as long as you put those placebos, those salt water or sugar pills, into a container with no writing on it, you would not be able to be fired.
So what I'm understanding is I now can throw dum-dums at people.
Yes, because you have until they expressly tell you verbally or in writing. But until then, you're in the clear.
This just gave me a brilliant idea. Does anyone remember the salmon cannon?
You just...
The salmon cannon where they basically just load a bunch of salmon into it and just shoot it back into the river? Let's do that with the prescriptions.
What you need to do is
Bonus
just
points
make
for
yourself
the
so
drive-thru.
valuable. Just need to make yourself so valuable that you can't be fired. I have literally made people cry at my job, literally, and they just keep giving me more money.
It's true.
Well, you get a good burst of emotion now, and people feel better. It's cathartic, having a good cry. I wouldn't know I'm from a different generation. We only cry when we're born. But, I hear that as a good thing. I hear that, an emotional balance is good for mental health.
I mean, I feel like that's what I'm supposed to tell people, but then I'd be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get the job that I get to be mean to people and get paid for it. So,
I mean, I'm going back to school for social work to be a therapist. I get to be mean at people and make them cry for a living.
Yeah. The hard truth.
But they'll feel good about it later.
See, much like my job, you can respond to everything everyone says and do you think that maybe was stupid?
Yeah, I'm a little envious about that job. I definitely am. But I'm not driving to Ohio to learn to do that job. I'm sorry, my friend. Nope, not gonna do it.
I'm glad that you have the luxury of being able to do all that and still get paid for it. Whereas on my job, it takes 3 people to convince a patient that they got the right medication, and the patient will still walk away pissed off and complain to corporate about it.
So,
I kid you not, yesterday we had
I believe it.
Oh, go ahead.
I believe it. I was going to say, my pharmacy before my other people quit was 2 girl techs, a girl pharmacist, and my PIC, who's a guy. The 3 of us girls could tell the person the exact same thing, and they'd be like, no, that's not right. Fred would tell them the exact same thing and be like, oh yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
I think that's more of a people thing in general.
Yeah.
People are assholes.
You just need to learn how to mansplain better.
Oh god. Yesterday, I had person come in. So, I don't know if you dispense budesonide at your Target,
Yep.
but okay.
We do.
They came in complaining that they were supposed to get a 2-month supply of the medication because it was written as 120 on the prescription. And it took 2 pharmacists and one of our lead tech at the time, not our actual lead tech, because we don't have a lead tech. No, why would we?
Right.
It was the We Care team was there. So 2 pharmacists and the lead tech at the time to explain to this person, it's not 120 vials, it's 120 milliliters. Each vial has 2 milliliters. You're getting 60 vials. That's a month supply if you're using it twice a day.
Yeah.
And they were fucking adamant.
Furious.
That they were getting shorted, that they were supposed to get 2 months and they only got 1. And we literally printed out the original prescription and said, look, here, this is exactly what your doctor wrote. And look here on the label, it even says in milliliters. Eventually they left. We filled the prescription refill on that prescription for them later that day, and the tech at the time literally circled the mLs on the front of the prescription in like a giant Sharpie just to make sure that patient saw it.
Yeah. I always write stuff on the front of scripts, like the labels, like just it's like little notes and like, and I'm crazy. It's like I'll even do like new address if the prescription came over with an address different than we have in the file. Yeah, I'm just a little crazy like that.
All right. So, knowing that people suck.
And vampires suck more.
With purpose. With meaning. And oftentimes with
In more ways than one.
And my cat sucks.
well, everybody's got to have a hobby these days.
Yeah, he nurses on blankets a lot. He literally sucks.
So, late to the party though you are, and appreciated for all of your time and effort you are, do you have any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, corners we may need to round off? Did we lose you?
No,
Nope.
still here.
Can Lucio just pull the ghost out with the arms of Araman?
He can definitely give a shot at strangulating himself. He's no longer living. He doesn't need to breathe.
We'll play it by ear.
Excellent. By ear is a good thing. At least it can be. That being the case, with us gathered here once more again for the first time, I'd like you all to know that, like, without a shadow of a doubt, not like, but in all actuality, that this is my getaway. This is the foundation for all of my play, and I'm thankful for all the moments that we've actually had, all of the things that we have managed to explore with these characters, those that have fallen by the wayside, and all the time ahead for these characters with all of these adventures that are yet to be experienced. It means a lot that we have gathered. It means a lot that we look forward to gathering, and it means a lot to me that we've had the time that we've had. It is a wonderful thing to me. But as we have no further questions, hypotheses, corners we need to round off, I'd like to say this is officially Soup City Sins, Season 13, Epilogue. Running like sweet rotten meat. When we last left our coterie, the shelter, the forces of light and goodness in their own worlds, they came to the realization that Lucio has been the halfway house for an unknown entity. They've come to the realization that sometimes to get ahead means ignoring all the signs that had previously had them running from fire to fire, from moment of chaos to moment of chaos. And sometimes sticking to the plan meant abandoning your morals. So as they are leaving Dalton Township, or the Kingdom of Thornton as it has become known as, the capital city of the independent free state, neither Anarch nor Camarilla, neither Sabbat or any other sect. It has declared itself independent to all other sects, and the threat that is clearly there politically is one that you all know or come to realize on your drive away, that the gleaming jewel of the Camarilla cannot in all good faith allow to stand. For years, centuries since Chicago's founding, the collar counties, specifically the spaces south of the city, have acted as a buffer. It has been where they've shunted all of their problem children. Banished from Chicago didn't always mean banished from the state of Illinois, and it oftentimes didn't even mean being banished farther away than it takes for pizza to be delivered to your home. The southern portions of the city, starting at 79th Street all the way out to the near contiguous suburbs, has acted as a buffer, a wasteland for all of the city's garbage. All of the problem children that were not worth the effort of staking out for the sun. All of those failed political Machiavellians who, through one incident or another, found their way to be on the outside of the cult of personality running things in the city. Loden allowed them to exist because when push came to shove, they were a good testing ground. They were a good fodder if there was a war that had to take place between the Camarilla, the Sabbat, the Garu, those will workers, those strange and wondrous things that sometimes were called Arcadians or Fae. It was the meat grinder that kept most of the danger free of the city. It operated as a close facsimile of what Gary had been, except for Gary was a lasting testament that no one challenges Chicago's prince, because there are worse things than death. And without that foothold in that south, without that wasteland to chew up any and every enemy who has their sights set on the city, well, there's no security system. There's no longer a wall there. There's a hole. There's a wide opening doorway to all of the potential enemies, would-be usurpers, those who have no wish other than challenging for the crown itself. So any politician, every person who understands the ebb and flow of power will eventually set their sights there. As far as the rumor and gossips are concerned, that is the very place where the Bahari have disappeared to. As far as rumors are concerned, that's the very place where the Anarchs who have been banished from the city are setting up shop. By all rumor and gossip mill, it is a ticking time bomb waiting for just the right press of a button. And you all are returning to the city with knowledge that there are at least 2 high-ranking, fairly skilled practitioners of the darkest necromantic arts existing there in splendor with wealth and access. And you just gave them more access to someone who has, without a shadow of a doubt, their own army of kindred at their disposal. And now you guys are driving home.
You know we don't have Craig, right?
Yes, we're good.
Okay.
So we go in alphabetical this time, or it doesn't matter?
Nope, it's your car ride. You have a few moments to discuss and go over what you found and decide what is your path forward. You have a plan. What will you do with it?
Okay. Is anybody else mildly freaked out by that decibel guy? Like, he's a little intense, I think. And then that chick that he has as a bodyguard, what the fuck is that about? Like, I don't even know. But anyway, well, we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna get Ignacio. But before we make any plans like that, we want to make sure that we're not being listened to again. There's that. And then 2, we have to figure out how to get the thing out of Lucio. So, Sophia, I'm going to need your help with that. Because I can do some things, and I could probably push it out. But I don't have enough power at a non-Nexus event to get to the other side and physically push it out.
Are you sure he even wants it out? Do you want it out, Lucio?
I want it out.
What? Okay, so what, just spitballing, what about the one in Arsenio? We probably want that one out too, right?
There's a what now?
I thought it was just a thing you were doing. I did not know.
Are you fucking telling me that we're both possessed?
That's what it sounds like.
I mean, it's not so simple. It's not like Hollywood movie. It's a bit more complicated than that. But I guess for the sake of the car ride, yes.
And you didn't tell us?
I thought you knew.
Why would you assume that?
Well, I know that if I was possessed, I would know.
You specialize in the matter.
I mean, it does not feel weird. You don't have a voice in your head, or...
We all have a voice in our head called the Beast. Everything else is a little hard to hear.
So the other thing is just sitting there doing nothing.
Essia genuinely starts to look a little green about the gills, like, for real. Like, she might just throw up this time.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, certainly we can do things about this, but not right at the moment. I mean, it takes preparations. You have to have, the right sacrifices, the right implements. Have to prepare a place. If I had a thing that belonged to what was in you, I could drag it right out, but I would have to have the thing first.
But it probably got in him at the shelter, so the best place to get rid of it would also be at the shelter, right?
I don't know if you want me doing what I do there. I mean, I would be happy to, but there might be long-term repercussions. It's a very powerful place, as you already know. But no, there's no problem. Can figure it out. You cannot figure it out right this moment, but soon.
So I'm supposed to do what in the meantime exactly? Just
Live
have
with
this
it?
thing.
What was it you did yesterday?
Make friends?
It could take me over at a moment's notice.
How many times has it done that?
It just tried.
So that was the first time?
Well, I don't know. Was it taking me over the first time it possessed me? Because I don't have much memory of that moment.
I don't know. I'm just saying that if it had tried to take you over before and you did not know what was in there, then that would be very suspect.
The thing is, I made him that warding on his clothing, and I think that's what helped kept it suppressed until there was an overabundance and too much of it.
I mean, you could let it out. We could talk to it, see what it wants. Perhaps that would give us some insight. I do not know that it would let you come back and take over again until I pulled it out, and that could take some time. There's always danger in these things, but is an option.
No, that is not an option.
I mean, everything is an option. So how are we going to get Agnostium?
Hestia starts pointing to her ears.
I can't say that I've ever met him.
I think she's referring to something else at the moment. Eyes and ears open, everyone. Make sure we're not being listened into. And Lucia's gonna throw up Oblivion Sight. And Heightened Senses, just for the hell of it.
All right. Well, let's get down to brass tacks in that regard, shall we? Would you be so kind as to, firstly, because you did say that one first, go ahead and roll your Wits plus Oblivion. Then secondly, roll your Wits plus Awareness plus your Auspics.
One moment. I gotta find my hunger. Oh no.
While we're on the subject, Sense the Unseen should be passive, but I will actively look for things.
Aren't we all technically at one hunger if we drank the blood wine, brandy, booze?
Yes.
Would a specialty in concealed objects apply?
If you had the ability to look for fetters, yes.
This case.
If only someone could do that.
Yeah. I think Oblivion Sight only lets me see the ghosts, not the fetters.
Yes. Well. There are certain things that is always the case when opening yourself up to that which lies beyond. We've always exemplified that which lies beyond as one of the many worlds that rest atop and against our own visible spectrum of this one. Things across the veil, things across the shroud, things across the hedge. Opening yourself up to it also means that, well, for just that, you've opened yourself up to see and be seen. And while quite innocently, simply being seen shouldn't be a problem. After all, if you're not doing anything wrong, what does it matter if someone is watching you? That's one of the many arguments that people use to justify all manner of things. And it's all the worse in the here and now. Because the vehicle is perfectly 100% empty. However, driving through the southern portions of the city, bypassing the neighborhoods, Chatham and Inglewood and so forth and so on, New City and Bridgeport and Canaryville and all of those places that are south of, Madison Street. Chicago was a city that literally consumed all of the areas around it until it got to its present size. It literally absorbed all of the other towns and grew until it is the massive sprawling wreck of a place that has strangely efficient design considering where it began. It unified streets, it joined neighborhoods, it bulldozed entire communities to get where it is. Long story short, it built atop the ruins of other things before they were completely ruined, oftentimes. It absorbed the dying and the dead as part of its natural growth, as part of its expansionist ideals. And that's never more visible than traipsing and travailing through the southern neighborhoods of the city. There were entire kingdoms to businessmen that were swallowed up by the city. And when I say kingdoms, they were very much, in fact, kingdoms. Roseland being the most notable, but other small hubs erected around the city, near the Brock's factory and near the Sears and Roebuck distribution center and the like. They would buy the housing and the land in the area and have houses built for their staff so they wouldn't have to commute as far. They'd erect gas stations and grocery stores and things that would keep their employees circulating their dollars in that area. They were kingdoms unto themselves. And many of them were put to death by Chicago's need for land. Many of them were trampled under in the name of progress. And with your eyes opened to that world of the dead, you see the remnants, those few multitudes that refuse to move on, who are linked to the places where not only they, but their dreams died. And adding to it, the visual, sensual, oral acuity added by your ability to pick up the most minutest of factors allows you to taste their sorrow. It allows you to see why that neighborhood is in fact so desolate. The many souls who are hungry for the things they no longer have access to. You see them feeding instead on the sadness and depression of the communities that you pass. You know what sadness smells like in your current state. The vehicle itself is empty, but the world around you is filled with things you'd rather not know.
Well, as far as I can tell, we're alone. But goddamn, this place has gone through hell. And Lucio's gonna turn off both of those abilities after he's had his fill.
You know that noise you can hear? That faint buzzing of electric in a house that is mostly sleep for the day. That small ticking of the pilot light that you don't notice. The moment that you bring yourself fully back into this moment and shunt out and block off and ignore what you recently opened yourself up to, it is as if everything is suddenly too quiet. And it's as if you are missing a portion of yourself and your environment. Hollywood calls it room noise. Every room has its own noise, and when you spend time in that room, you don't notice it, but you pick it up in its absence. You notice the air, the aura of the space is changed when that room noise is different. So when you leave it, it is only then that you consciously notice it. And shutting yourself off from those senses, shutting yourself off from those impetus, from the sadness around you, and all of the despair that comes from living in the urban sprawl, it hits you like rising too quickly from a deep dive. There's an absence of things and an absence of pressure that makes it feel as if you are the ever-expanding stuff of the universe, deprived of that which you need to grow. As for the rest of you all, having experienced Lucio shunting himself into that other space, and knowing that in doing so he opens himself up to everything on that side of the world all at once, it would not be a unfair leap of logic that you all are bracing for the other shoe to drop, because as his eyes empty of all light and is replaced by the very soul stuff of the maelstrom that is oblivion, as his nose twitches to scents that are clearly not there but somehow no less palpable, as his ears move as if they have a mind of their own, picking up sounds as if they are moving radar antenna. There is that held breath that none of you need to take, but it's held all the same, because as of late, even with all the protections that have been put in place, every time he opens himself up to the other side, something tries to come through.
So, we good?
As far as I can tell.
Remind me when we are not busy that you and I should have a conversation, Lucio.
I feel like that's way overdue. But yes, I'll remind you.
So if I recall, you had said that Ignacio was supposed to meet with you anyway, correct?
Yes.
So how do we make that happen? So that no one shall ever see him again.
Maybe he'll respond to email.
My question is, if we have him meet you, like he said he wanted to, or like you asked him to, how do we know that he hasn't told his dad that he was going to come meet you, and then as soon as something happens to him and he doesn't come back, you are now the suspect number one. We need it to be a way so that he goes to check on something or whatever, and you're not directly tied to it.
You remember how he asked me to kill his dad?
Yeah, I think I remember that.
You
No.
also remember how he never told his own dad that he tried to kill him?
No.
But then he still found out because you told him at the meeting.
I did, just because I wanted to see him get punched. Oh, Miriam, to catch you up to speed. Ignacio, half-brother. Half-brother wanted me to kill our dad, who is the crime boss of the Castiglione Tories.
Oh, wait. Half brother
To be fair,
by
at the-
mortal blood or half brother by other blood?
mortal.
Half-brother by mortal blood.
No, ask him about the other blood. It is very interesting.
Do not ask me.
And then,
What about the
to
other
be
blood?
fair, when that all happened, he didn't realize your dad was a fucking evil vampire lord.
So,
In typical Pultanesca fashion, Lucio is his own grandfather.
What?
So I may or may not, I can neither confirm nor deny, have accidentally sired my own half-brother. Embrace
Y'all
that.
live interesting lives. Interesting lives.
Too
Did
interesting.
that all happen?
Anyone
Far,
ever tell
far too
you
interesting.
that may you live in interesting times isn't a good thing?
They failed to mention that, apparently.
Okay.
See, but what had happened was, at the time, Ignacio was an enemy, and we didn't realize that. And some stuff went down, and we kidnapped him. Yeah, kidnapped him. And he pissed me off. So I kind of maybe sort of punctured a hole somewhere that wouldn't heal that I didn't realize at the time because I was angry. And he was slowly bleeding out when we sent him back to his father to get his mother so they could try to get away while he was still bleeding, but he had Lucio's blood in him at the time. So it was an oopsie kind of thing.
Miriam is just going to look bewildered at this whole thing.
Allegedly.
Y'all really enjoy
would
the
like to
drama,
add-
don't ya?
I would like to add all this allegedly.
Uh-huh. Okay.
What's Miriam's intelligence?
Miriam's intelligence is 3.
And what's her academics?
2 with a specialty in research, if that matters.
3 and 2, that's 5. Okay, so Lucio is half brothers with Arsenio, who is the son of Don Castiglione, who is the husband to Mama Kaz. Mama Castiglione, who you all are doing a job for to remain safe and get Lucio's family back, his sister. They are keeping Lucio's ghoul bodyguard, whoever he is, Arsenio, who was with you all when you all went to the vampire hunter. Looking at them side by side, there's clearly some familial connections. between Arsenio and Lucio. But if there is a familial connection, no matter how thin, between Lucio and his ghoul, that also would mean that there is a thin, no matter how thin, connection between Lucio's ghoul and his half-brother and the people who are kidnapping him currently.
Miriam will ponder for a bit. Just shake her head. Just shake her head.
So, back to the subject on hand, totally not trying to avoid the conversation, but I have an idea of at least where we can meet. A place that he and I know very well, which would be the Howard Beach.
I'm not familiar, but okay. It sounds good.
It's personal reasons why we'd be going there. But if I tell him to meet me there, he'll know what it means.
Then we grab him, we make him look like your friend Vivi, and then we kill him.
Precisely.
What could go wrong?
Oh, so many things.
You have to be optimistic.
It's either
They're
this or
positive that many things could go wrong?
They can, but the question is, will we let them? That actually reminds me. Just to make sure that all of this wasn't for naught, are we sure that the changes that Decibel makes will persist after death?
They should turn to ash, so probably not.
Well, they're young though. They're less than a year old, so they most likely wouldn't turn to ash, right?
That is an interesting question.
As far as I know, it's permanent. I mean, it's... The crude analogy is plastic surgery.
I would assume that if you take a piece of paper and you fold it up into a boat and set it on fire, it burns as a boat. It does not return to a piece of paper.
As much as I'd like to accept that analogy, there is a non-zero chance, without me knowing for sure that it's impossible for them to revert, that they could. So maybe we might want to get confirmation about that before we start changing him, killing him, and then suddenly, oh no, he's back to looking like himself. What do we do?
Well, I am far from an expert, obviously. It is not much exposure, but I would believe, from my understanding, the changes they make persist. Like, normally we make a change and we wake up the next night and it is gone. These changes stay, so I do not know why they would not stay if we were killing him, but it would be best to get confirmation from someone who is a master of this power.
I suppose we can ask Decibel when we next meet him.
And aren't we all excited for that?
Well, the first time was so much fun.
I actually kind of am.
Maybe he can show you a thing or two while he's brutally torturing Ignacio.
I don't know that I would call it torture.
As you said, it's plastic surgery. How do you think plastic surgery would feel without the anesthesia?
Well, depends. There's hypnosis. It actually has a fairly decent efficacy. Not as great as anesthesia, but that's fine. I'm sure he has the constitution to withstand it.
There's a push, an invisible, animalistic push to avoid pain in every way possible. It causes some to drink, some to turn towards drugs, some to turn toward sex and other vices to escape, to remove themselves, to push the pain as far from the conscious understanding as possible. It is seldom that a being learns to enjoy that succinct release, that cathartic release of surviving that pain or surmounting it and moving past it and through it. To be mindfully aware of each moment of torture. Rapturous torture. And much like their living human counterparts, kindred are much the same, pushing things out of mind, out of sight, looking towards vices to escape and otherwise mitigate pain. And at the end of it all, that is what this is all about. The pain of the loss of family. The pain of looking oneself in the eye and being mindfully aware of the failings that have happened. To say that I am not as I perceive myself to be in the worst of moments. That's what this is all about. That's what this plan that lays in front of you, like some very well constructed Tetris level, where all of the pieces must fit exactly so to work. It's for escaping pain. It's for escaping what that promises and what that has been experienced by it. So as you all pull into a stop for the night, easing into your parking space, because as it's become known at the shelter, there's an immediate understanding that perhaps may not be what possible. There is a familiar SUV parked in front of the shelter. Its darkly tinted windows looking so very much stereotypical, but by the slight difference in color. It is still a dark SUV, but the fact that it has a blue hint of color to it, just barely there, and that the windows, for as tinted as they are, allow the person inside to be minorly visible in the back seat, you all know that the Scourge has come to visit.
Oh no.
Great! Just what we fucking needed.
You had an appointment.
No, but they don't give a shit about appointments. They go where the fuck they want to go when they go.
Is this the girl we had to run out last time because she got everyone in a stutter?
Yes.
Yeah.
God, I hope we're not in trouble.
When are we not?
Well, put on your game face and go see what she wants, I guess.
Before we do, if anything happens, I would just like to say, it's been an honor.
Feetist.
She gonna have to catch me first.
So as you all exit the vehicle, Silvio, of course, doing his due diligence, moving around, opening the door so that you all may step out at your leisure, offering an arm to help the ladies and a hand to help Lucio. Because as comfortable as the vehicle is, as comfortable as this slightly stretched town car is, it is still a little lower to the ground than one would expect. So standing, moving across it can be difficult to navigate from time to time. It takes practice learning how to properly exit a vehicle such as this. And, well, it's not. Even though it's becoming your everyday vehicle, it is not an everyday thing for you all to have to exit it as quickly or without falling on your face. So, there you are. As you all exit, the back door opens and out she steps. All of her blonde Latina glory sitting there before you all. She flounces her hair, smooths her clothes, and it's clear that she's trying to put on a presentation, a small bit of making sure that she looks nice for you all. After all, I'm not representing just myself, but my friends, and you are technically my friends, or friends of friends.
Ms. Santos, was it?
Yes, but Alexa works for me. It does not work for you.
Yeah, it's showing you your due respect. If you prefer Alexa, I am happy to call you such.
So, it has been a busy night of hunting. I know that you all have more than enough space inside and then free meals when one wakes up. It's not quite a continental breakfast, but I understand that your kind are the forgotten of the city, so no one will miss one or two if they have to go missing because of someone feeling peckish throughout the day. I would like to stay with you all.
One more time?
May I make use of your hospitality so that I don't have to drive all the way across the city again to get to my poor little haven?
Okay, but then you want to be able to eat.
Well, that is part of your hospitality, yes. The reason why you have the shelter anyway, so that people may be used as they are deserved to be used, yes?
No. I have the shelter because I'm genuinely trying to help humans get on their feet.
What better way than to have at least an enjoyable moment of your life? A bit of the kiss to send you on your way. That's all that I needed. But if I don't have the full use of your hospitality, I understand. It is fine. You can say that we're not that close.
Oh, Jesus sees this for the freaking trap it is. And looks at Lucio like, step in at any time, homie.
It's your shelter. You can decide whether she stays or not.
I have no problem with the staying and the, being comfy, but I would prefer that the people that trust me with their lives not,
Right. Alexa, if you're hungry, I think I can arrange for something a little bit more flavorful than just these forgotten outcasts?
Oh no, I would not want to put you out, but if they are not your herd, and they are clearly not your ghouls, as many of them as there are. I understand. I understand implicitly, and I will not hold it against you. I would not dare to mention how you have so many humans around such and so many kindred affairs. Others might, but I would never.
Cassia puts on a slightly defeated, but okay, whatever you say, grin. Motions to the door, like, come on in.
And I will make a call to Sephoa to actually bring over a vessel or two for Alexa to feed on.
What time of the night is it? No, sorry, go ahead.
That is actually a good point. What time of the night is it?
It is very close to sunrise.
I will nix that idea then.
Sophia will see her way right out of this awkward situation and go home.
It's almost everything Ian has said, not to mutter coward.
Seems like a Camarilla affair. I am forbidden to intervene.
So, as Sophia says that her name is Paul, and that's between y'all, what is it that Lucio, Hestia, and Miriam are doing?
Miriam is making herself as small of a target as possible.
Okay, how about consent? If I can find somebody that is willing and consensual and happy to provide, then I am more than... Who am I to say they can't do that because they're adults, but they have to consent?
Do you say any of this out loud?
No, that's what she's thinking in her head. She's like, no. There's much flailing going on, and Hestia is like moving things through her head, and just like Lucio can tell she's frustrated.
There's no shadow of a doubt that names mean things. They have a certain power. They grant a certain understanding and a certain belief. And that belief grants that item a certain standing, a certain perception, a certain agency of its own. And while unofficially, in every capacity, Alexa Santos is in fact one of, if not the, scourge for Prince Jackson. There is a all too political reason why that title has not been bequeathed, or that title has not been bestowed. And true though that political reason is, the implied gossip, the implied understanding why she is his black dog and not his scourge is because she is in fact too mad, too dedicated to ending things. She would not be a harrowing of just the enemies of the crown, but of any member that so displeased her. And you all have, in all due reservation and with all due understanding of self-preservation, allowed an unknown aged assassin of kindred within your haven. You have allowed a kindred that you are sure engineered the death of a rival using you all as the cat's paw. You have allowed the devil's right hand to firmly place itself against your throat. Because while you all know, Dizzy had more details and Dizzy no longer exists. While you all know and were there for the fallout of it, the fact that you know doesn't grant you protection in this particular situation. You are laying down to die for the day with a kindred who kills kindred. And with that thought sitting there, I'd like to thank you all. It's 49 after the hour. We'll come back at 9 after. Welcome. Everybody back?
I'm back.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Okay. So while we wait for Hess to get back, welcome back.
I'm back. I'm just jamming.
Okay. Plan still in effect. Just a shortening of the time, as it were. Easing away from the shelter. There are some things that are universally known, and others that, well, they get there from time to time. One of the things that is universally known is that the idea and the real curse of may you come to the attention of your superiors is everyone likes to look good. Everyone likes to be perceived in the light they feel they deserve. And so coming to the attention of your superiors means that their judgment, their decisions, their own inherent biases and the like can affect one's self-image as well as one's potential for further success. And without a shadow of a doubt, while the Scourge officially is not a superior to the Hounds, unofficially, The sheriff deals with threats internally, and the Scourge deals with all threats predominantly externally. They are occasionally turned loose on the populace of the court, but mostly their strength is in their threat. Because if you come to their attention, there's a good chance that the prince or those sufficiently politically powerful primogen have decided that the trouble that you might cause is worth the effort to ensure you don't cause any trouble ever again. And while no such official position exists within the set of families that is the Hakata, the understanding of that is no less ground in reality. The Paters, the council of family heads that decide many things on a day-to-day matter, the family heads that work directly with and answer to the Capuchin himself, you never really want to come to their attention. You never really want to be on their radar as something or someone that needs looking after. Because as they say, all's fair in love and war, and this is a family of sects, a sect of families that love war. And they war out of love, the love of the dead, the love of the world that lies beyond this one, the love of, well, of many things. Illicit, immoral, unethical. And as Sophia and Silvio drive away, knowing that the coterie is taking into their bosom the scourge of the city, what plans or considerations is Sophia considering unleashing?
Well, I mostly am just going to go home. Might task my other retainer to maybe keep an eye on things over there. I'll be asleep, so it's not going to do me a whole lot of good, but if something happens, they can come notify me as soon as I'm available.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to roll your resolve and oblivion from the place?
Sweetly.
Well, now. There are certain things that one should never be privy to. But we are now privy to those things. And as that order, that request is carried out, where is it that you all decide to try to stash the scourge comfortably?
We do have a couple spare rooms left, right?
Yes.
Maybe if we put her in Simone's room, which seems to be a little bit cursed, something bad will happen to her and we'll have to deal with this bullshit.
I mean, don't you want to be at least a little bit nice to our house guest?
Oh, nice, yes. That was being silly, but for real though, she's going to go with the room closest to the library, that's furthest away from her own personal space, and somewhere that she could do, I guess, maybe the least amount of damage if she decides to do damage.
I see.
Oh yeah, Cameron's old room. Nobody ever uses that one.
I was actually going to suggest that too. I imagine that would be relatively comfortable.
So off to the second floor, you escort her. It is also the nearest floor towards the bridge into the parking structure. It is one floor beneath Hestia's suite of rooms, her labs, and Lucio's suite. Now, in the grand doing of things, did you all just what space had you set aside for Miriam?
That's an excellent
We would have
question.
put Marianne in Julius's old room because Julius, we know, isn't coming back. And it's magically inclined or whatever. He was Tremere, so it should be pretty comfortable in that room.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Okay.
Get to rifle through people's things. It's great.
Well,
Once they leave, we like take their stuff out and put it in either storage or chuck it. But his probably got put in storage because as another Tremere, there were things of his I could possibly use, so I put them in storage. The room's been pretty much empty except for a bed and a bed, a desk with a lamp, a chair, and like an armoire.
hadn't you given Julius's suite of rooms to Dizzy?
No, we had given Simone's suite to Dizzy, which is why I said that room's cursed.
Oh, maybe we should put her in that room then.
I'm not involved, but you know her and Dizzy were kind of buddies there, so might not hurt to say, and this was Dizzy's room, and kind of, maybe win a point, or maybe it would go the other way, who knows?
How about we say we do that?
So settling in for the evening. The evening ablations somewhat truncated because of the lateness of the night. Moonlight is constantly burning just like daylight. It is constantly moving forward. Time is the thief of always and forever. And in its thievery, it often gives as many scars as it takes. And the escorting the Scourge to the place and her state of rooms where she'll rest for the evening, even though you all don't head up to the roof, and even though you don't head up to the 5th floor where Clyde's suite of rooms are, where Raoul's suite or Joseph's suite of rooms remain. It is very hard to not think of all the kindred, the souls who have occupied your warmth of fellowship. Because there's a saying that every family is unhappy in its own special way. And for lack of a better word, the shelter has been that for the many kindred that have spent time here. The shelter has been that for all of the mortals who rely on its services, its aid, its kindness and grace to exist. The foundations of the coterie as they are currently have their roots in the very real want and need to change the world for the better by offering a small bit of succor, a small bit of alms for the mendicants of the world, the forgotten, the cast off, the ostracized, the damaged. And as Alexa, upon entering the room, immediately removes her shoes and begins inhaling the space. And you're not quite sure, because you never went in for that populist BS, you're pretty sure that she's attempting to throat sing without the gift of breath. Because like many kindred in the city, she doesn't really rouse and seem human unless where she knows she's going to be around them. In the doing, you all give them space to begin your own evening oblations. You realize that this is a center of power, not necessarily and not solely because of the spiritual energies and forces that rifle through the space, but it is a place of power because even in their worst moments, even in their most problematic moments, every kindred who has remained inside the shelter long enough to be considered part of the coterie has imbued this place with their essences, has imbued the space with their understanding of what this coterie means, what the business means that hides the coterie, and their very real cares and concern against and for the world. And even being deaf, dumb, and blind to all of the supernatural manifestations throughout the place, there's an aura to that, an energy frequency that remains. And here we are, several hundred adventures in, and that aura, that feeling, has changed. You all are not the same kindred you once were. Your understandings of the world has changed the world around you. And if being completely honest with oneself, you can't verify or test the veracity of that hypothesis that it is in fact for the better.
Actually, I did have a quick question because we kind of brushed past it really quick. Say I had put the wards up on the doors. How are they feeling right now? And are they noticing any strangeness going on with Alexa being there?
Would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus... Oh, sorry, let me look at that. Don't want to give you the wrong die pool. That would be disastrous. So here. be so kind as to roll wits plus insight, or wits plus insight. Impossible. This is not said or ascribed easily. With everything that she has seen, with all the pain that she has suffered at the tip of the sword of her own wards, the constant, unending pain rocketing through her every time someone crossed her wards, there's an impossibility at play. True, you don't have any framework to truly gauge Alexa's responses. True, some people assume and live with all manner of pain, but having understood and experienced the searing, unvarnished pain, it's impossible. Her response doesn't make any sense.
Instead of wondering completely why she's not feeling the pain, it's more Hester's like, oh crap, how did I fuck up this time? I could have sworn I did it right. So she starts questioning herself first, rather than questioning why Alexa isn't seeming to be affected. But then, as part of her evening before she goes to bed, she's going back over everything. And it's like, okay, no, I did this right. So there's something with her. And then she starts wondering why that's going on.
Everyone likes to ascribe what happens to Kindred as sleep. Most Kindred call it, your day sleep, or your nap time, or it is time to get some shut-eye. Many even go through the unneeded aspect of preparing for bed. They'll disrobe and get uncomfortable clothes and crawl into a bed of their choice, many spending most of their income on finding something large and massive and super comfortable and great for lumbar support and great for getting the correct amount of sleep or finding the perfect sleep number for themselves. But what happens to Kindred is the antithesis of sleep. As sleep, your subconscious mind works over all of the many things that you've experienced during your waking hours. While sleep dreams of what could be and what might have been, and fantasies of all those mixed together with the subconscious mind, and dreams happen. For Kindred, there are no dreams. For Kindred, there is no sleep. It is a switch being thrown that completely invalidates the time that happens between sunrise and sunset. Doesn't exist, doesn't matter to them, doesn't there's no way of them gauging any time has passed, because for them, there is what happens when their eyes are open, their senses are aware, and what happens when their eyes are open, their senses are aware. Some envision it as one blink, others as a switch being thrown. Whichever particular personal image the kindred take, there is simply no time in between. They are there, and then suddenly they're not, and just as quickly they are there. Would everyone be so kind as to go ahead and roll your rouse roll for me for the evening, as you resurrect for the evening. The starting order of rouse. There's always been a press, a push, a need, and in Miriam to understand the world as best as possible, to find a working balance of what is not, and what is impossible. Her artwork oftentimes explores that dichotomy. Her artwork being the human flesh that she's worked on from even before her death to now. Her artwork, the sketches, the quickly jotted down gestures, her explorations of things, oftentimes to the specific direction of certain clients, but there's still there that need to understand the world. And while it is very true and quite factual that kindred don't dream, there's the undeniable sense that that's exactly what happened. That there is something just there on the tip of her mental tongue that she knows and understands, but doesn't quite have the words for, as if the train of thought zoomed right past the station. So you know that it was there, but there's no proof of it except for the wind-blown articles of your clothing. It's not the first time that she's died for the day inside the shelter. And at this rate, it very well will not be the last. The shelter, the group of hounds, have taken her in, sight unseen, no veracity of anything that she suggested. They've made her one of them. They've made her, by dint of association, even more of an outsider. By dint of their association, that she has found the spider web of threads that tie one kindred to the next throughout the city. Or more specifically, the spider web of threads that tie the Bahari, the cultivars, through the very halls of power, and why, with her understanding of politics, something had to be done. And close enough to touch as a kindred that there is no doubt in your mind. If they were not the spark, if they did not light the fires of war between the tower and the Bahari, you are sure that they've carried out more than their fair share of executions of the Bahari. The second highest priestess, Mama Walde, disappeared, which set many of them aflame and knew that it was in fact war and not just a political, personal, social assassination, but an actual viable one. Your shop, your life, if there was a way to put an end to it, if you had to ascribe something to it or someone, that definitely would be the scourge of Prince Jackson.
It's unlikely that her quote-unquote morning routine would change much, even being here in the circumstances. You know, preparing for the day, doing some sketching of, whatever flights of fancy, possibly revisiting the girl in the red dress and ballet slippers. And just being aware of what's going on in the world outside the door.
The dancer. Never too far from your thoughts when you have a moment to yourself. Living in that space, even temporarily, is quite a thing to have. Knowing the pressures placed on ballerina, let alone someone of note enough to have to audition at that level. The pressures that they are constantly under, their need for release and access, and the very short careers of the average ballerina. All of those things play as she contemplates in her way. And out of the corner of the eye, she can see the twirling edge of a tutu, a red one. And every time she looks in that direction, there's nothing there. But the moment that she goes back to her work and her mental exercises, she can see it there, just at the corner of her vision. She can almost feel the heat emanating off of whoever, whatever that is, just at the corner of her vision. Spinning, twirling.
Eventually, she'll likely emerge and go, I would say, probably down to the clinic-ish rooms and see if there's anyone in need of assistance. It's what she does. Helps people. It's a good way to stay out of the way.
Moving back across the hidden spaces of the shelter into the more public accessible reaches of the actual shelter itself, the business, the Harasvaros shelter. There's a difference and a boundary that you pass that you feel every time, but it's more of a difference in air pressure. There's a difference in the heat and the warmth. There's just a small minor difference in an environment change. There's never anything that's overwhelming, like you walking through a membrane or hitting a air curtain, like in those food delivery or restaurants or cold packed meat places. It's nothing like that, nothing so definitive, but it is a feeling that always crawls across the skin. This time it's not there.
We will pull a face and make an abrupt turn back to locate Hestia.
Speak of the devil, and she shall appear. Hestia, there was a point when you needed an alarm clock to get up and get everything that you needed done. Nothing like having to be awake at 4 a.m. to make it down to the university, where you would be there until midnight, sometimes 1, to make it home to get a few hours of sleep. So an alarm clock was a vital tool. It was not only necessary, it would have worked better for you if you had found a way to miniaturize it and keep it permanently on your person. Now, of course, this is during the days where the alarm clocks were these relatively, in comparison, huge things. They were these huge, round, metallic things with bells on top that was so jangling and discordant that there was no way any person within earshot could ignore. There wasn't a real snooze button so much as breaking the damn thing, which you've done or had done on multiple occasions. But since death, since accepting the gift of potential immortality from Karen, you've never needed an alarm clock. The beast is so much more than just timely. It is ever present. It is omniscient when it comes to finding a way to escape its bonds. And rising considerably later than you had expected sets the teeth on edge, because the very first voice you hear is the beast. You know what we need. Live. Fresh. And while during Hester's living days, they didn't really engage in much alcohol. They didn't engage in much illicit. So the extraordinarily dry palate, the slight pressure behind the eyes, and the fact that the room is brighter than it should be, or feels as if it is a weird sensation.
So there is now a very tiny, very angry Kindred with a pounding headache, stumbling away from her bed, wondering why she woke up later than she normally did, and heading towards the bathroom to splash water on their face. Do I feel the difference, or is it not noticeable to me?
What difference?
The difference that you were mentioning to Miriam.
No, there's no difference. You're in your space. You're in your room. You have all of the things that you normally have. What difference?
So she is going to shorten her normal routine, obviously. Just a face wash and a quick swipe of the body with a clean soapy cloth and towel off, throw on something in the closet. Most of her clothes are dark shaded anyway, so it's probably all gonna match. Hair goes into a messy bun, and she kind of, blinking owlishly, stumbles out of her room in search of the others, trying to make sure that she is awake before Alexa so that she can decide how best to feed Alexa, but at the same time, hearing her own beast growling and trying to get it to shut the hell up.
Stepping out of the room, out of the suite of rooms that is hers, there is Miriam.
Miriam grins. Just the person I was looking for. There's a weird thing. Shouting. Alright, I'll whisper. There's a weird thing. You know how it kind of feels like you're going through a curtain at the point over into the human area? That seems to be missing.
What?
Come on. She'll grab Hestia's arm gently and take her over to the area.
So heading down the hall past Lucio's door, he's always been cognizant and as close to a living as you all come before you, Hestia. He always has. He literally has always been the first resurrected member of the coterie. You don't hear any sounds from inside.
On the way past, knowing she'll regret it, she kicks the door. And then immediately winces.
Is Lucio awake to hear this?
Yes.
You just hear a sudden, abrupt shout. What?
In the doing of yelling a response, it feels as if he's punched himself in the head, as if he owes himself money.
And he immediately starts rubbing his temples, trying to hope it would alleviate some pain.
Everything has a cost. It's the common understanding of what actually most spiritually minded or mystically minded individuals call equivalent exchange. Pleasure for pain, pain for beauty, pain for money, typically is some exchange of pain, whether it be physical or emotional, in regards to something else. To mend something requires the exchange of something else, typically of equivalent value as what's being mended, healed, or worked on or worked against. And that principle holds true through nearly every facet of life and every facsimile of it. Everything has an inherent cost. And without meaning to, through no fault of their own, through no choice of their own, merely dealing with the consequence of their actions, stepping out of the haven into the shelter should cause a feeling of difference, cause a washing of essences, because you're shifting from one level of depth to another. Crossing the boundary has always been a thing that Hestia has understood on several different levels of awareness. Moving from the hidden door in the office of the shelter into the shelter proper, it very much as if everything about it is considerably weaker, almost to the point of non-existence.
Loud whisper. See? The thing. It's different.
Sia winces, but then answers back in a stream of probably moderately understandable the Spanish curses, and still at a very strong whisper, and then drops himself into sensing scene to check their warding.
You know, the beauty of words is they're subtle and nearly invisible, even if you know that they're there. Finding their sigils and signs is a great thing. It gives you an idea as to what word may have actually been in place, how it may have been erected, and you can counteract that. Oh, they're still there. But the best way to describe it, what you're seeing, what you're feeling, is as if there's a brownout, as if the power that they are dependent upon is being throttled.
That is not good. Not good at all. What the hell would cause that? Does Hestia have any clue what would cause something like that, or is it just like, I need to call Dusable and ask him what the hell is going on?
Well, Dusable would definitely have more experience with this sort of thing, or, well, actually Sylvia would have the most experience with this sort of thing behind Kieran.
Wait, if Kieran was the one that's most knowledgeable, then Hestia should have that knowledge, because Kieran taught her pretty well for the short amount of time that they were together.
Community college level understanding versus thesis. You're full-fledged doctoral in the subject. And based on what Hestia knows, based on what Hestia has experienced, would you be so kind is to roll intelligence plus occult and roll as high as you possibly can.
Okay, 8 successes.
Something or someone is choking out the energy to this location. That technically should be an impossibility, but as someone who works with invisible forces changing the ebb and flow of the world around them, there is no doubt that there is nothing that is actually impossible.
Well, that makes us feel even more angry. And based on that, looking into the ley lines in her map, she'd probably need to go grab a book from upstairs. Her map of the known ley lines in the area, including the ones that are attached to the shelter, and try to maybe trace back to where the choke point is coming from and what can be done about it.
Well, that's the beauty of it all. And improbable doesn't mean impossible, no matter how illogical that might be. As a place that stores and wells up the energy of the world, and as a place that connects so many differing ley lines, someone would have to have nearly intimate knowledge as to how many ley lines cross through the shelter and have the shelter itself as either the end point or beginning of them.
Okay, so does she know about how many people might have that knowledge?
How many people could or how many people would?
Okay, we're gonna go with originally how many people should, but then compare that to how many people could.
Anyone who understands ley lines and has tracked several, well, or had the opportunity to map all of them that flow into or out of the shelter.
Which shouldn't be that many people. Because Sylvia's dead. Julia, maybe? She's going through the list in her head of who the hell should know this and who do I need to go stab. But meanwhile, she's plotting all this. She's gonna look at Miriam. It turns out that somebody is fucking with the energy flowing to the shelter, and it powers the shelter like a battery, and my power plus that power boosts the wards, and for some reason somebody's messing with the power that flows to the shelter for some reason, and I need to find out who and why so I can undo it.
So they flipped the breaker. So who do we need to go find?
And while that question hangs in the air between Hestia and Miriam, Sophia rises for the evening, resurrects themselves and extricates themselves to prepare their evening of rising oblations. First, the provided foodstuffs that it makes up their early evening. Then the conversation with their retainer, who, for lack of better words, should be an invisible angel watching over the shoulders and carrying out everything that they have assigned them to. The shelter itself remains in darkness throughout the day. So once they'd made it there, they would be safe through the day. Because much like Kindred, spirits from across the veil have issues with light, with the light of the sun. It makes them weaker. Sometimes they can destroy them incomplete, but it makes them weaker all the same. So the darker the space where they are operating and have access to, the safer they are. Her visage being so horribly afflicted as if she has been tossed into a blender is not something that Sophia particularly personally emotionally cares for, but someone damaged her things.
Well, that's not good. I will attempt to communicate with it and ask it who has damaged it.
And as per usual, the request is, of course, to share space and provide it in the most clearest, distinct manner possible for them. Because the old aphorism that dead men tell no tales, while a bit of an over-exaggeration, is in fact closer to the truth than not.
Well, all right. I will put a pin in that for later. I assume it has nothing to report, since it won't tell me who beat it up either.
Its conversation is relatively limited, but it does express that there are legionnaires who've crossed the veil because the doorway is open. The membrane between this and the Deadlands and the Shadowlands are excessively thin where you sent it. So it was viewable, accessible from the other side.
Very well. So I sent you to a place that was probably more perilous than I should have sent you. I'll keep that in mind the next time it comes up. If you would like to rest yourself, I probably will have no further need of you tonight.
And it fades from view.
Silvio, why do I not have more ghosts at my disposal? We need to work on this. So much time chasing these hounds around. We're getting very little done.
Si, senora.
I suppose we should prepare to go over there and see if they're still alive.
Si, of course. And he, of course, prepares your things and lays out the outfit and finishes polishing things and getting everything in order. His life is service. And it is some life indeed, because the service provides so many different vistas and views and sights that most average people could never quite imagine. It also gives him a fulfillment that most modern people would never quite understand. And as you all leave, of course, there's the usual sure thing, but then there's a pause. A small frown, hard to discern in the furrows and cracks of his face, but being as aware of him as Sophia is, she notices it.
What is it?
I know I'm not supposed to ever speak about the machine, because anybody who finds out what it's for is going to be tempted by it. And it's easy to keep a secret, but no one knows.
Right.
But did those your two cousins mention they have their own piece? They welled up or done things at their church?
I do not think that outside the family it is knowledge exactly what this is being done for. It is disconcerting that I was directly asked about it. Some people have mouths too big for their faces.
I'd say so, but it's not my place to say.
Well, we're going to put one of them down.
I'll bring the car around and be right back. And he's off, returning as quickly as he left. Everything properly in place. You're sure that in his time he's made sure that there's a nice security circuit around the building so that when you all leave, there's no one who's immediately or should be immediately aware. The drive is a quick one. Getting to the shelter is becoming force of habit. You could probably do so with your eyes closed at this point. You're sure so could Sylvia. You pull into your usual parking spot, and would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus oblivion?
Okay. I don't think I like that roll. And willpower didn't make it any better, so I guess I'm stuck with it.
There's something off about this today. You're not sure if you're forgetting to call one of your cousins who actually are able to do things that would help you, anniversary, maybe the death date. You're not sure if it is a forgotten tithing or a gift to someone important, but you're not there, so it doesn't matter. And no one locally, at least, is worthy of any of your efforts to maintain a relationship. But there are people abroad, through most of Europe and some parts of Africa and South America, that you keep a tithe, a token of appreciation flowing to, because, well, you never know when they might come in handy, and keeping in their good spirits is far more valuable than the few dollars, several hundred thousand, that may be lost in properly showing your appreciation over the course of a year, a month, a day, and so forth and so on. You're sure that something is different, and you've forgotten something important, or you didn't notice something, and it is there at the back of the mind, gnawing along with your beast, who lets it be known that they are here, but as non-problematic as living with that monster ever is.
What is it I'm forgetting? It is bugging me.
I don't think we have anything on the agenda, and everything else is pretty much automated. I checked before the sunset. We should be good as far as all of the things that we're doing, but I'll double check if you'd like.
No, I assume that you have already double and triple checked, as is your way. There's something I'm forgetting, or something that is wrong. Not like dangerously wrong, but something that should have been attended to and is not. It will come to me later, or will not. There's nothing I can do about it if I'm not aware of what it is.
Entering the shelter, there's a few frowns, which is a rarity. Most of the frowns are when they miss out on a dessert or can't get to the computer or tablet that they need when they want it. But that disaffected malaise is not typically one that you've seen with the members of the community here in the shelter, yet you're seeing more of them as you all pass, heading to the office to head into the shelter, to the meeting room to get everybody together and decide what you're going to do, considering in the doing that dark SUV that belongs to Alexa is still here.
Apparently, they still have their company. We'll need to tread lightly.
Sure thing. And as you all head in, and Lucio, awash in the blood of the lamb, covered in the vitae that seems to pour never-ending from you. What are you doing since that jackhammer of a blow to your door? You're surprised that it's still standing. It felt as if the walls themselves rattled with the force of whatever that was, and when you asked, there was no response.
Lucio is having a miserable day. A headache, a hangover, and he's waking up hungrier, and he's bleeding out everywhere because of his condition, shall we say. He is going to try and clean himself up as much as possible before heading out and trying to resolve this hunger issue first, because it's bad enough on its own. It's just magnified by everything else going on. The scent of his own vitae is starting to be enticing to him, and he knows that is not a good sign.
That is a downright horrible sign. Almost as bad as you've only heard 2 pairs of footfalls outside your door. And the way that everything is echoing back to you, and you have that feeling of swimming through a sea of galls, that sticks out in your mind. There were 3 other kindred that would have had to pass your door to get to the stairwell. You only heard 2 pairs of footfalls.
Fuck. Lucio's gonna try and check the other rooms then, see if he can know who is missing.
Quietly moving through the rooms, doing a little quick sneak and peek, as it were. The shadows of the halls caressing and coalescing behind you, sliding along as if they are made in some dark version of a lava lamp, bubbling and churning and moving in pace to your steps. You reach the room that you've assigned for Alexa. And you're expecting them, if anything, to be one of the many footfalls you've heard. The problem being, and the thought behind it being, if they left or if they engage in the skills that have gotten them where they are, that means that they took a hostage. They killed someone or one of your coder members and took a hostage, or worse, killed someone and made the other person an accomplice. You remember how very much the Malkavian Primogen was able to get inside your coteries' minds those few times they plied their trade. You remember very much how the feel of Clyde sliding amongst the folds of your brain felt. And you open Alexa's door, praying that your paranoia growing is simply an affectation of their nearness. And perhaps they're already gone. But no, laying there in the bed, eyes staring at the ceiling, unmoving as only the dead can be, is Alexa.
Lucio would knock before entering.
He steps back out, wraps his knuckles against the door. Nothing. No movement, no stirring.
Since it's useless to check for a pulse, Lucio's going to just walk over and wave his hand in her face. Like, hello? Hello? You there?
One of the many things that's problematic about the dead for the average living human is that it triggers a mild form of the uncanny valley. Even for those that you know intimately or just in generally, looking down on that corpse of that person who bears a face that is absence of all the love, warmth, hate, enmity, consideration, or absence thereof of that person. It triggers a very mild form of the uncanny valley, and it's hard for Lucio to not have that in his moment because Alexa's eyes are open. They are dust covered, staring at the ceiling. There's of course no rise or fall, but there's typically some minor thing that lets you know that there's something animating the corpse, some warmth there, pale and wan though it might be, but there are no such signs of such activity in Alexa. There's nothing about the corpse in front of you that says it was ever or ever could be ambulatory.
Every time I do this, I know I'm going to regret it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I activate Oblivion Sight and see if there's something I can figure out from that.
You brace for the many vistas and shadowscapes that you've seen when peering across the veil at the shelter. But there was a movie you remember watching quite a few years ago, actually, before you became an adult, while you were still breathing and attempting to find your way in the world. Before you had any right to, you weren't even a minorly legal adult. This was, you had to be 10, maybe 12, maybe. The movie was 28 days later. The guy wakes up in the hospital. There's no one there. It's a wreck, it's a ruin, but he's alone. He moves outside to London and he's even more alone. There's signs of population, i.e. the cars and buses that were left and the debris left after the street cleaning crew didn't pick up behind them, but he is literally alone. And that makes the world seem all at once far larger than it needs to be and incredibly small. And that's what Lucio experiences looking across the veil. The many specters who roam and traipse through the halls, the many various epochs that this building has existed through and manifested itself on top of one another in the Shadowlands is not there. The wallpaper doesn't change. There is nothing. It is as if someone has emptied the streets and spaces of the Shadowland in this area. There's still the signs of the debris. There are broken lances and spears in various places. There are weapons you can't accurately describe, made of the very essence of the world around you. It was as if there was some war, some fight, some battle for it all, and everyone lost. You've never been this alone when peering into the Shadowlands at the shelter.
Oh, that's weird. When Lucio looks at Alexa, Is there anything different? Like, are those weapons around her?
No. Devoid of every semblance of existence. Which is also weird considering that you know for a fact with all the souls partial and full that she's sent into the great beyond, she has always been a draw to the spirits. She's always been a clarion call. She's been the North Star and guiding light for many of those entities from the Shadowlands. Where she goes, they know that they might have their fill. And yet, nothing.
Lucio has no idea what to make of this. And he's not sure whether he should leave Alexa's side, considering that she seems to be in a very vulnerable state right now. So he's gonna wait by her side for a little bit, see if anything changes, and if nothing happens after a few minutes, he'll take it from there.
Okay. There are several enemies that Hestia is intimately aware of that have crossed across their path since the very founding of the shelter. How many of them have been mystically inclined? How many of them have the wherewithal? I honestly can't say that many. This took planning. And now that she knows that there are quite a few. But where does she parse her list down to of all of the people that she's dealt with personally?
Julia, because he's lived here and he knew what's here, and she knows he was working with DuSable as to tracking ley lines and finding nexus points. So she's putting him kind of like top of the list. Then there's Wilshik, because he knows what they're sitting on, but she's not sure like how quite to pin this on him. Like, what would he be gaining by cutting the power off to this place when this is where he wants? So she's still putting him because she suspects him of everything, but he's lower on the list for her. I don't know. She hasn't seen Ericto in a long time. But as far as she knew, Ericto and her were still cool with each other, but she knew Karen and knew what Karen could do, so she's still going to stick her somewhere on the list above Wilshik, but well below Julius. Because she'd also known that Ericto had been to the shelter before. The night that the whole thing happened with Sunshay and Simone and stuff. So she's been here. She knows what it feels like here. That's kind of like the first people that come to mind. In a way, she also kind of wants to put the wizard girl whose grandma had gotten trapped here, because she doesn't know how much she knows or how long since they've last seen her, how much she could have grown to know in that amount of time, having been here and knowing what it's sitting on. So she's on there too. That's kind of like who she would guess right away. And then maybe, what's his face? The one that was Sylvia's right-hand guy? Mr. Shapeshifter. He's on there too. But other than that, yeah, she doesn't quite know.
So while positing this and attempting to order them in order of most likely danger to least likely danger, from most likely knowledge to having a fucking clue, Sophia enters with Sylvia.
Buongiorno.
Jester raises a brow, looking rough as all get out. Alexa's still here. We aren't dead, obviously, but we have a different problem.
Oh, why am I not surprised? What problem are you having now?
Somebody, in their infinite asshole and wisdom, has cut off the power flow of 75 waypoints flowing in to the shelter through the ley lines. There's 75 different entry points that converge here in the building, and my wards are weak right now, and I don't feel the power that's normally here, and I know it's because of that. I don't know who yet. I'm trying to figure that out. But they would have to have intimate knowledge of this fucking place to be able to pull this off.
That makes me wonder if it's not our little friend on the south end.
Oh yeah, he's on the list too, but I don't know how much he knows about ley lines.
I don't know either, but he has quite a bit of resources at his disposal, and I don't know much about them myself. That would probably be more your area of expertise. But I do know that he needs this location to do what he is doing. If he has found a way to bypass it, that is a very interesting solution.
Or a way to weaken it to the point till we don't want it, or we don't consider it protectable anymore, and then he sweeps back in and gets rid of all the blocks and has it back to full power.
It would be perhaps a plan, not a very well-formed plan.
Well, I'm not a mastermind, I'm just a genius, but...
Well, you hold the shelter not just for what it is, but for what it stands for. And if it loses its mystical properties, what it stands for would not change for you.
True, but my ability to protect it kind of goes a lot lower with that lack of power.
But the need to protect it is also a lot lower without that power. Just saying that it is not well thought out of his plans to weaken it and make you abandon it.
Yeah, again, I get it, but who's to say what the fuck his crazy ass is thinking right now? But anyway, we still need to figure out what's going on with Alexa.
And speaking of what his crazy ass is thinking, Lucio enters, the most quizzical look on his face.
Oh, so you're saying Lucio left Alexa behind?
Yes. And of course he wants to carry her with.
Sure. Yeah.
He's giving her a piggyback ride, and suddenly she wakes up and starts biting the crap out of him.
How is he carrying her?
Well, I don't think he'd be able to piggyback, so probably just bridal carry.
The look on his face is nothing compared to what's in his arms, and that what's in his arms is the corpse of Alexa.
Wait, she's not awake yet?
Nope.
Oh, no, that's not good. That's definitely not.
She's not ashes, so she's not final dead.
She is old, yes,
Uh-huh.
and has killed many kindred.
Many.
It might just not be her time to wake up yet.
Her eyes were open, staring at the ceiling.
Well, when the sleep takes you, you are however you are. And not everyone lays down in their beds and tucked in all comfy with their eye shields and their jammies on.
I'm just saying, apparently she didn't feel the wards last night because it should have made her be in pain. She wasn't reacting like she was in pain, and then now she's not awake yet when we're all awake, and obviously, I mean, she should be awake. She looks at Sophia. I mean, your guys are maybe close to the same age, right?
I don't think I'm anywhere near as old as she is. I'm not sure how old she is. For now, I do consider it cause for concern. Maybe 2 hours from now, it might be cause for concern.
There's another thing. And Lucio's going to describe aloud the scene that you described earlier with the basically peering into the veil, the whole building seeming empty and there being weapons strewn about.
I'm sorry, what?
We are alone, is what I'm trying to say. There are no spirits here.
Yes, Hestia brought that up. There is something going on. We're not sure who is doing it, but I have a theory, an unfounded theory, but a theory nonetheless.
I'd like to hear it.
I believe that our friend Wolseek is behind it. Do not believe he is directly behind it, but giving the orders.
You think he just brute forced his way through?
It'd take quite a bit of mystical knowledge. I do not believe he possesses that, but he certainly has those resources at his disposal. As mentioned previously, he needs this location. If he finds a way to bypass this location and makes it irrelevant, then he can get on with his work.
That's one possibility, but then why is she being affected? And Lucio just gestures towards the corpse of Alexa in his arms.
Yeah, I'm not so sure she is being affected.
Wait, I'm having a memory. I don't know whether it has anything to do with that, but one time we were in the office at the Chantry, and Ericto got possessed by the things from Chinatown. And we had to create like an anchor or a ward to trap it in her body and keep it from taking over. I wonder if, again, this might sound crazy, but I wonder if Alexa was some sort of anchor for something. And by cutting off the power flowing to the shelter while she was here, it cut off whatever was animating her from coming back into her body.
I'm gonna swap my sight to Binding Fetter and look at her.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's it. You can talk before it.
I was gonna say Lucio's going to mention... Do you think this might have anything to do with Felix and Vo, by any chance? Those two we spoke with last night? There was some stuff going on around their place too, if I remember.
Yeah, I do not believe it is related to this, but it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Well, there's nothing to say that the lines that are connected to their place aren't somehow branched off connecting to this one, because ley lines connect and crisscross, and they're very much like rivers and join and split, but that's just one point compared to the 75 that I know crisscross here.
Yes, it does make sense that whatever is affecting this place is centered here. It would be easier than shutting off 75 faucets. I did send a servant to watch over the place during the day, and it came back worse for wear. So whatever has occurred, unless it was lying to me or I misunderstood what it was saying, it was not such all day. Might be a rather new development.
Well, that's the thing.
Where? What do you mean?
Spirits are fragile things. They don't do well in certain situations, and in places like this, these conduits for energy, it is not a safe place for the smaller ones to be.
That could be the point with you saying, Lucio saying you've seen weapons strewn about. Sometimes there are guardians or things on the other side that keep order and keep things moving through the nexus points and into the other side or away from the other side. So if there was some sort of battle to close the haven off from the energies flowing through it, then that would, I guess, make somewhat of sense why there's no spirits, because it chased them all the way or killed all the weak ones or whatever. But the problem with that is if they turned it off from this point, what happens when you plug a dam too much and you don't let any of the water out? It backflows and floods all the places that are flowing into the dam.
So you saw spiritual weapons strewn about?
Yes.
That does corroborate with her story of the Legion being here. What they were fighting, I do not know. However, we know that Miss Alexa there is a conduit for hate and death. She may have drawn things here, and there was some sort of battle, perhaps.
The last time she came here, there were monstrosities that started appearing that were apparently powerful and scary enough that even the other spirits were tripping over each other to get the fuck away.
Would that I could step over the shroud and find out more, but I must confess I am not that powerful yet.
And the only way I was able to do it is when there was a backlog of energy. Last time there was a convergence, and we're not doing another one of those for 2 years now, unless I could create a convergence of some sort. But again, that's a problem because the power that usually is here and I can potentially work with is not here right now because somebody's jamming it off. So I need to figure out who's doing that, fuck them up so that they let go of their fucking hold on the place and get the energy back.
Sophia has a lot of relevant skills and knowledges. She's going to examine Alexa, like visually. She's not going to like give her a physical or anything, but
Storyteller, if I didn't know any better, I think you're implying something with these images you're posting.
Whatever do you mean? So, Sophia?
yes, sir.
Looking over Alexa, there's not even a residual essence of a spark of life. It is literally as if someone has found a mystical, magical way of placing that person, that being, that kindred into torpor.
Well, that's unusual. It seems Miss Alexa is perhaps in an unnatural state now that I focus on her, but I am not sure. She does appear to be in torpor. It might be more than the day sleep.
But from what, though? There's not even a scratch on her.
Yeah, magic is a mysterious thing. It's probably a horrible thing to say. It's not very eloquent, but it's true. He does not leave scars always. Sometimes it leaves a residue, but I am not seeing any of that either.
Hestia is suddenly hitting her head on the desk repeatedly. We are so fucked. We are so fucked.
We could try perhaps removing her from the location and see if it has any effect. It may do nothing. May make things worse.
The point that I am just now coming to, and Hestia looks at Lucio, where was she when this happened?
Here.
What are we under scrutiny for?
A lot of shit, actually.
So if somehow or another somebody could solve their own problem with the Scourge, and they have a problem with her, obviously, by putting us as the patsies who somehow put the Scourge into torpor, or aka killed her, we are very, very, very fucked.
But how could you be fucked? It's not like her well-known SUV has been seen in the area and last in front of, still in front of your location. It's not like that's happened.
Okay.
Well, if she's in torpor, can't we just find someone to wake her up?
Depends on why she is in torpor. If she is in torpor from magical means, it may not be so simple.
Okay, so hear me out. I can give Damien a call. Let him know Alexa's not waking up. We are not at fault. And maybe he can try and wake her up. Because I don't know if any of us are strong enough.
I mean, it might be worth trying to get in front of. Again, it might make things worse.
You know what this reminds me of? When you're little and your cousins come to visit your house and your parents give you crayons to use and they draw on the walls, but you can't get them in trouble because it's your walls and you let them do it? This.
So I guess the other question would be then, did she come here on her own? Was she somehow influenced to do so?
Did she seem herself? That should be where we start. Because I do not know her very well, but I assume the rest of you have had many dealings with her.
That's just the thing. See, you never know which Alexa you're gonna get when you see Alexa. Sometimes you get really nice, really chatty Alexa. Sometimes you get homicidal Alexa. Sometimes they switch back and forth between the 2 or 3 personalities. So who's to say which one is the real one?
Well, from what you told me, we got neither of those. She did not seem homicidal. She did not seem manic and chatty.
That's a good point. Oh, shit.
I do not know her very well. Is reserved and quiet. Normally one of her demeanors.
No.
So I think we found the key to the problem. Now we just need to figure out where the lock is.
In the positing, in the thinking, in the putting 2 and 2 together to get 22. The coterie allows one factor to escape them. One clear, indefatigable truth. And as the door to the office opens, with Lucio holding a corpse, with the dried and caked on remnants of his still flowing blood about him, with Sophia standing very much like the mafia princess that people believe still exists this current day, with Silvio, her dark, large, bold river protector, with Hestia looking very much the corpse that she is, and Miriam trying to do her best to help them solve this issue so that her continued existence might give some opportunity for a semblance of peace. I'd like to thank you all for a lovely session, and I'll see you guys in season 14. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Who broke the
Good night.
scourge? Night, guys.